Well, a very good evening and welcome to each and every one of you. Welcome to this week's Your Manchester. I'm Miss Belinda Scandal.
And I'm Mark Llewellyn.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And you?
I'm having a lovely week.
Are you?
I went to the theatre last night.
Yes, what did you go
I
to
went watching Pretty Woman.
Yes.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. There's been so many bad, strange reviews on the interweb. I thought, oh, God, no. Because, you know, you set yourself up for it. And it's got so many beautiful points. It's a modern musical.
Right.
Not a jukebox musical in the way that it doesn't use music that you might know right until the very end.
Okay.
It gives you something there.
Who's in it?
Who's in it? Well, I don't know any of them. But that was what the joy was. It was such a joy to not remember any of the actors you were invested there for in their characters.
Right, okay.
And they didn't miss any of the points. But I'll tell you, somebody else who was there was at Ashley, and he did his review. Check out this.
Hi, Ashley Stone here for Your Manchester, and I'm at the heart of Pretty Woman at the Palace Theatre. It's been an absolutely brilliant show, of course, based on the blockbuster movie starring Julia Roberts and Richard Gere from 1990. Can it transpose to the live stage musical? It kind of can, with some show-stopping performances, especially by Pretty Woman star, of course, Vivian's friend Kit, and powerhouse opera scene with some brilliant surprise vocals. It's an absolutely feel-good factor, fantastic musical. So if you want a really brilliant night out, if you don't come and see it, as of course Vivian says herself, big mistake, huge mistake. And it, of course, runs until the very end of next week.
So make sure you're checking that one out. It's absolutely fantastic. We went last week to the theatre as well, didn't we?
Well, we did, but it was a bit strange, wasn't it? We were at the Opera House for Gypsy, the Hope Mill Theatre fundraiser. But I had fantastic seats in the front of the circle. Where were you sat, love?
I was in the stalls.
Right at the back.
The thing is, I have to say, this is and anybody that knows me will be able to understand this is the first time in around about 10 years that I've had to actually purchase a ticket.
And I was there to witness you trying to operate the interweb.
And it was easy, wasn't it?
Very fun. It was very funny. But yes, no, I did look for you, but I couldn't see you because you were right underneath.
I couldn't see anything either. But what I did see and hear, because I think the strange thing about theatres is because the speakers are down the side, you either get wicked wonderful sound or you get wicked wonderful onstage shenanigans going on. And it was. Wasn't it Jodie Planche?
It was absolutely fantastic. I thought they were all, she was brilliant as Mama Rose in Gypsy, and but there was all kind. There was Peter Gunn from The Street there, wasn't there? Matthew Kelly was in it.
Matthew Kelly.
Tom Lister was brilliant as Herbie.
Gorgeous Harriet Thorpe and Davina De Campo.
Yes, doing the You've Got to Get a Gimmick.
Yeah.
The cast are absolutely amazing. The chorus and the children, who I think go to the Hope Mill Theatre School, were brilliant, weren't they?
Well, when you think how long it's took them to put it together.
Yes.
I mean, it's not taken them forever.
Well, they rehearsed, I think, for a week, didn't they? And they only got the band together the day before. So the orchestra were absolutely
22 piece.
I know.
22 piece. That's including the woman that was doing the triangle. Which I always like to watch.
She was very good, wasn't she?
Very good indeed.
Very good.
But obviously there was a reason why they were doing this.
So this was a fundraiser, wasn't it, for Hope?
Absolutely a fundraiser. And we wanted to know what the fundraiser was all about, what it was for. We contacted one of the owners of Hope Mill, and he sent this message to us. He said, it was an amazing hit, and we are overwhelmed with the response from audiences who came to watch, many of whom have been asking for a full production and run. I would. Yes. The fundraiser will go towards securing Hope Mill funds and the community work we do as well for our theatre school. In order to continue great theatre in Manchester, we need to look at new ways of adapting and changing our model, as it's more challenging than ever to make work in our mill space. But we will continue to make exciting work at the mill, but also look at new ways of bringing Hope Mill magic and shows to larger audiences across the city.
Right, it's a bit like us. We make magic in a mill.
We do, don't we? But it's fabulous, isn't it?
It was absolutely stunning, and it wasn't a concert version as
no, I think they underdid themselves.
Yeah, but it was packed, wasn't it? So I think we're a shoe-in for the next production. You could be Mama Rose, I'll be Herbie.
I wanted to be the cow.
Well, I think we can all agree on that one.
Well, we'll pull the other one. Listen, we've got a wonderful show lined up for you.
We have.
What's on today's show, please?
Well, it's a bit of a literary show tonight.
Easy for you to say, isn't it? I'll be your mother bowl. Yes.
We are definitely between the covers. In that we're speaking to DJ Dave Haslam.
Yes.
About a new book, aren't we?
That's right.
In Stockport.
Yes.
And we've got Adrian Slatcher, and he's got a book of short stories.
That's right.
Called Loners.
We're looking at one of your walks as well.
Yes, we're in the Moravian Settlement.
Which reminded me of season 5 of Dynasty. That's what it reminded me of, which was the Moldavian.
Yes, that's right.
I thought you'd done
Michael
something.
Braid, wasn't
Yes.
it? Yes.
I thought you'd done something special. But first of all, today, we sent our Izzy out to the Portico Library. If you've never heard of it, we want to give you all the information about this fantastic, and I want to say hidden gem of a venue.
It is, because it's down a place everyone will have walked past the Portico Library. Now we're going to tempt you to go inside.
So the Portico Library is one of Manchester's longest running institutions, but what makes it such a huge success in the city, past, present and future? The library is 218 years old, and over that time they've built a collection of over 25,000 books. It was first established when Manchester was starting to be known as the first modern city.
Portico is a fantastic jewel in the heritage and cultural corridor crown for Manchester. It was built by 400 members. They came together to raise the funds, and they were an eclectic mix of individuals, and unfortunately, dare I say, they were all men, but they were a whole arc of individuals who came together to have this library built. Elizabeth Gaskell, her husband was the longest serving chair, William Gaskell, and she became a member around about 1870. That's when the Women's Property Act came out, and that's when women were allowed as members for the library. I thought I'd delve in the archives, because February is LGBTQ plus History Month, and I thought I'd delve in the archives and bring out Oscar Wilde book. This is the original 1905 book, and it's by his friend Robert Ross. Robert Ross was with him for quite some time, but Oscar Wilde passed away in 1900, only 3 years or so after he was released in prison. He was imprisoned for being homosexual. In here there's like a lovely preface from Robert Ross. He says, "All trials are trials for one's life, just as all sentences are sentences of death. And 3 times have I been tried. The first time I left the box to be arrested, the second time to be led back to the house of detention, the third time to pass into a prison for 2 years. Society, as we have constituted, will have no place for me, has none to offer, but nature, whose sweet rains fall on unjust and just alike, will have clefts in the rocks where I may hide, and secret valleys in whose silence I may weep undisturbed. She will hang the night with stars, so that I may walk around in the darkness without stumbling, and send the wind over my footprints, till none may track me to my hurt. She will cleanse me in great waters, and with bitter herbs make me whole."
In 2017, the Portico Library became a registered charity, and today it works with the diverse communities of Manchester and explores the city's history through many events, exhibitions and learning programmes, such as Infamous.
It is all about the trade between Britain and China in 19th century. What's so special about this one is it's not just about that, but it's also what we are showing. So you can see our books from 19th century collection that we have from many different categories. But what's prime is that the books on the tea heist that happened in China was here. So actually when it was all happening by Robert Fortune is here, and we found out that in a lot of our books in the collection, the East Asia collection are all well used so much because the members of the library were keen to see it and keen to read about it and know about China and also the East Asia. So it's just show as well how things developed from then. We also have a lot of loan documents and loan items from Macclesfield Silk Museum and also Bolton Library and Museum Services. So the actual opium pipe, if you have never seen it before, it will also be here. One of the core aim, so we're trying to do things in the library, is that we always, whatever exhibition we put on, we need to use our books, which is 19th century. And it's like that rarity and normal, like everyone else wouldn't actually come to the library and use it on a daily basis if you're not a researcher. But when we use it as a part of the exhibition, that's quite interactive. So you can see the books, you can see many things. It made people feel like they can be part of it in one way. And also, these were opinions of the past. But when we recontextualize it and use it in exhibition, it's more relevant to us as a person of like now. So I think that's one of the aim, that always will change and share a lot of different views. And because the books was written by Eurocentric and Western eyes, but this exhibition, it was curated by Iris, who actually were born in Hong Kong. So the context there is just so much diverse, which is what we're trying to aim to be in the future.
Speaking of the future, the library has just received the National Lottery Heritage Fund, which will play a huge part in their plan to expand their community even wider.
So we've been working on the Lottery Heritage bid for about 7 years, and it started off with a very small little grant from the National Lottery Heritage Fund to really scope out whether we can reconnect and reunite this incredible building, which was split in the 1920s. We're now just on this one floor, but we used to be on 3. We used to have loads more space to do loads of activities, and we want to explore whether we can do that again. So we've got what's called a development phase, where we're going to test. We're going to test to see whether the building can handle it. We're going to test loads of exciting activities. We're going to test to see whether the business plan works, as well as thinking about how we can improve access, how we can improve engaging with communities that are close to us as well. It's going to be a whole range of different things. It's going to last about 2 years. A real central part of it is to get the input of the people that are going to use the space, and it'll be through their input that we will develop what the spaces are created and how they are used. So that's really exciting. So our plans are to reconnect the building with a lift, and that would improve access. But also, in terms of the downstairs spaces, what we're going to explore is whether we can continue the amazing work that we do here in the cafe. So we are the oldest lunch spot in Manchester, and we are looking to see how we can expand the role of food culture, food history, food writing on the downstairs floor. So doing innovative things with publishers and with writers, curated menus, things like that, as well as having a northern bookshop and more space to do exhibitions and workshops and spaces to work. So we've got loads of other things we're going to try and test. We're really hopeful that it's going to work, and it's going to take a lot of support from everybody to try and make this happen, because while the National Lottery have committed to investing a lot of money in the library, we still need to raise a huge amount. And it's important to mention that we're going to need everyone in Greater Manchester to help support, get this project over the line, and to make sure it needs to happen. We need to raise about £2 million in extra support for this project, and we're looking at lots of different areas to try and get that done, but it's important that we make that message clear. What's important to mention is that at the heart of it is going to be our work with the activities and using this amazing collection to bring new audiences into the library. While the library's been open for 200 years and it's been in the centre of Manchester, right next to Chinatown and the Gay Village, but also next to the Central Library and the Art Gallery, we've really not done enough to connect with the people of Manchester and to get them in. And our role is to make sure that this space is for everybody, but also to attract those that have perhaps not been in before. And our activity plan that we're going to test in the next 2 years is going to do exactly that.
Well, joining us now is Adrian Slatcher. He's got a lovely collection of books, and he's here to talk about them now. Welcome to the show, Adrian. How are you?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Now, you've got a fabulous new book that's coming out. Perhaps tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, well, the book is called Loners. It's a selection of 6 short stories. So it's in a pocketbook format, I think is the best way of describing it. And it's also a collaboration with an artist, Stephen Heaton. Just behind my shoulder, you can see that picture with the various oblongs and the blues on that. That's one of his. He's an abstract artist. And it's published by a local publisher in Manchester, Confingo, who've published a number of novels, short stories, and a magazine, and also a series of essay books by Dave Haslam.
Right. So how did you come to collaborate together on this?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, because as a writer, you are thinking about the words, And Tim, who runs Confingo, had approached me about doing a little book in this series. But the catch was, if you like, that it was a series of collectible books where there's a collaboration with an artist. And he basically said to me, we can introduce you to an artist, but he knows that I'm quite involved with the art scene, and I'm actually on a board member of Castlefield Gallery in the city. So he said, well, do you want to think about somebody? So I approached Stephen, whose work I liked a lot, and I said, would you be interested in collaborating? He's someone who's had solo shows, he's curated shows himself, and he had read some of my work, so there was a bit of an affinity there. But also, the first story in the book, for instance, is called The Cat, and I didn't want an illustration of the cat, because if you actually read the story, there's a question mark about whether the cat exists or not. So I really wanted to work with someone who was more abstract. But what was really pleasing about it, Stephen works in oils, is that he actually created 2 or 3 new pieces of work to go in the collection, including the cover of the book. And overall, there are 6 of his pictures plus the cover, several which are new, and so which are just we chose between us as a kind of companion, I think, to the stories. Yeah.
So when you're putting these books together, then is there a process you go through in creating them, and if so, what is the creation behind putting these books together?
Well, I think as a writer of short stories, I guess it's very like being a songwriter or in a band. You do each one as an individual thing, and then someone comes up to you and says, would you like to record an album, or in this case, a book of short stories? And you go, oh yeah, and I've got all these songs or all these stories, and you kind of think, well, what would work well together? There were a few technical limitations, which I think is always really interesting. It's a mini book, if you like, and so I think I had a maximum of 14,000 words, which, in pages that works out about 60 or 70 pages, but they are like smaller than A4, smaller than A5. So we were limited with that. I sometimes write some quite long stories, and Tim very much wanted it to be a collection. So out of that, I put a short list together, a bit like putting together a DJ set. Sorry about the music analogies, but I love my music. And what we tried to do, once we put them together, there were a couple that he'd read already of mine, one which he'd published in his magazine, which he really liked. And we hadn't originally got a title. And then I was just walking down the road one day thinking about the collection and the stories. And I realized they had one thing in common, all 6 stories. They were all about loners. And loners became the title of the collection. And we did change one story at that point. We moved one out, and the last story in the collection, which is an older story, which really fit the theme, fitted in really.
Right. So Loners is published on the 7th of March. How do people get hold of a copy?
Yeah, so the publishers are called Confingo, CONFINGO, and their website is confingopublishing.co.uk, so no co. So that's the best way. Or obviously we're using all the social channels at the moment. We can order it from bookshops, etc., but it would be coming indirectly from Confingo. The box of books is in the Confingo storage space at the moment, and it's a lovely little book. I've just got a copy of it here, and it's. I think if anyone wants a signed copy, they can come along to my launch on the 7th of March, which is at the Manchester Art Gallery Cafe, promptly at 7. So the side entrance, you don't need to register if you want. You can just turn up. And really, I'm hoping that over the next few months as well, I get the chance to do a few more events and things like that, to read from the book and also to answer some questions about it.
Brilliant. We're looking forward to reading it, aren't we?
I am indeed, but I think there's nothing more special than hearing the actual author reading his own story as well, which is fabulous. Absolutely. But now, though, thank you so much, Adrian, for your time.
Hello. Now, next weekend is Mother's Day. So here on Your Manchester, we're going to be celebrating mums, and we want to hear your stories. Whether mum is still with us or not, we want to know what they've done for you. What has your mother done? What has she taught you? What's that phrase that you hear and you instantly think of her? Well, let us know. Contact us at yourmcr.com. We look forward to sharing some of your emails next week.
Well, yes, get in contact with us for Mother's Day. We'd love to hear your stories. It's a very important day, isn't it?
Yes. Will you be seeing your mother on Mother's Day?
No, but I've already sent her a card.
Have you? Yes.
I can't say what's in it because it's probably going to arrive there sometime tomorrow.
Right, yes. No, I won't be seeing mine, but my mum always does that now. I don't want anything. Don't buy me anything.
Which means buy them everything.
Yes.
Yes, I know.
Yes,
I
I'm
know.
taking her to Coronation Street, you know.
Oh, yeah.
On a private tour.
On a private tour. Has she not had one before?
No.
Really? I find that very difficult and hard to believe. I bet she knows all the stories, though.
Oh, she's an avid. No, I don't.
No?
I tell her I invent.
You invent.
Just to wind her up.
That's what drama's all about, isn't it? But listen, you're taking her on a tour.
Yes.
Is this one place that you're about to go now? Would you visit somewhere you take her?
What a good segue that was.
Thank you.
It's very rare we see that with you. No, I shan't be taking you to this place, but I have been on a stroll around the Moravian settlement, Fairfield Moravian settlement.
Season 5 Dynasty.
For this week's walk, we've come out to Fairfield Moravian settlement, which is about 15 minutes from Manchester city centre and within Manchester City Council's geographical area. The Moravian religion is probably the oldest Protestant religion in Europe, and a group came across here to Manchester in 1785 to set up their own settlement here with church. School education was very important indeed to them. They had bakeries. They also were excellent at lace work, so they made lace here, even selling that to the royal family. Today, the settlement is still a living, working settlement, and it's rather beautiful. It's tucked away just off the main road from Manchester to Ashton-under-Lyne, and well worth a little detour. Now, I first discovered it, I was brought here by a photographer to have my photograph taken in this very alleyway for a book I was doing. But come and let's have a look. In the burial ground behind me, married couples may be buried together, but single men and single women have to be buried in separate sections. There are no headstones and memorials, just simple plaques. As you can imagine, such a beautiful, unspoiled place has also been used for filming a lot. Lots of dramas have been filmed here, period dramas, and it's used a lot for television commercials. They've even had Manchester United playing football down the main causeway. That is the Moravian settlement here in Fairfield. We'll see you next time for another walk. So we're now joined by a legendary DJ in Manchester and the Hacienda, you know, who has a new book out. And this is called The Strawberry and the Big Apple. And it sounds absolutely fascinating. Hello, Dave Haslam.
Hello, how you doing? Can I wave the book?
Wave that book.
Please do.
Wave that
It
book.
really does exist.
Tell us all about it. What is it all about?
So the book is about Grace Jones. I mean, we love and respect and honour Grace Jones. And I discovered that she'd been to Stockport, which is not what she's most famous for, you know. In the 70s, the Queen of Studio 54, very glamorous woman, jet-setting, wonderful model. And then in 1980, the jet-setting, glamorous, wonderful model, Grace Jones, turned up at post-industrial Stockport. And I thought, well, worlds are colliding there. And so the book is an investigation into the circumstances that led her to Stockport. And it took a little bit of detective work, I have to say, because it's something that Grace Jones has completely forgotten. And some of the people who she met have completely forgotten. but there are photos that prove she was there. So it's a kind of, it's a detective work / celebration of Grace Jones / celebration of Stockport, I guess.
Now, you must have met a lot of different characters throughout your time, particularly when you were DJing at the Hacienda. Why was she so prevalent for you to write about?
I think it was the story more than anything. I mean, she's still with us. God bless her. She's still performing. I mean, I think 1980 was about the year that I really first began to appreciate her work. I don't think either of you are old enough to remember Private Life, which was one of her hit singles. And I remember buying it and seeing her on Top of the Pops. And I mean, she is an icon. I think, if you were trying to define her, you would just end up having to say she's the one and only Grace Jones, because you can't really see a role model for her, and it would be very difficult for anyone to base their life on her. I mean, she's a total one-off. And as I say, I just found it fascinating. I mean, it's one of a series of books, and one of the other books that I've written. I'm just going to hold them all up, actually, because this is a life's work. To be honest.
Yes,
look at this, a life's work.
My goodness me!
I know, a series of 8 books, and one of them is about Courtney Love, who lived in Liverpool in 1982 for 6 months. So I kind of like these mini stories about great people in circumstances that is unpredictable and also unknown. As I say, it's a bit of detective work to find out what was going on.
And that detective work then, Dave, how long did it take you to do the research for this book?
It took me months, to be honest. And I thought I'd start by interviewing people that she met, but most notably the band A Certain Ratio, who were signed to Factory Records and who played a lot with New Order and other bands. And she'd actually arrived in Stockport to go to Strawberry Studios, which is the famous studios in Stockport at the time. And it's where Joy Division had recorded and so on. And the idea was that she would record with A Certain Ratio. So you had kind of Grace Jones, who had houses in Paris and New York and who recorded in the Bahamas, coming to meet a young group from Wythenshawe and Hume from Manchester, and I like the juxtaposition. But when I talked to A Certain Ratio, the band, the young local band, they really couldn't remember much about it, and so I went to I found some photographs. I found the Strawberry Studios diary for the day it was recorded. And I realized it was the day after her famous Russell Harty interview. Which viewers may remember when her and Russell Harty got into a bit of a spat and she started hitting him, basically. And it gave her a lot of tabloid notoriety. And it was actually the evening after that live interview on primetime BBC that she fetched up in Stockport.
She was probably within the Manchester region, because I know half of his show was filmed in London and half was filmed in Manchester, wasn't it?
Exactly. She'd been in fact, she was on quite a busy schedule, because she was at the Russell Harty show at BBC Studios in Manchester. Yeah, as you guessed. But then the next day she was at Granada TV, who then had a studio in Liverpool on Albert Dock.
Yes. Yeah.
So she remembers going to Albert Dock because it was such a ruin at the time. Obviously now, bless our Liverpool colleagues, Albert Dock is a beautiful, and regenerated tourist area. But when Grace went there, she remembers it looking ruinous, but actually quite atmospheric.
Well, one thing that's not ruinous is your book career. I mean, this is out on the 11th of April. of this year, and we look forward to this. Just before we let you go, though, is there another one already in the works?
Well, I'm so full of ideas. I need to kind of research quicker and write quicker. I've got a few ideas for books coming up, but as you say, this is April the 11th, so I think you're the first people that I have spoken to about the book in the media. So that's a bit of an exclusive, and there's a couple of events in the Manchester area launching the book. The one on the 11th of April is actually sold out, so there's no point me telling you about that. But anyway, anyone who wants to follow me on social media, very welcome, and you get all the information about where to get the book and where to find me to get me to sign a copy of the book.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you much success.
Thank you.
Well, there we go. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time now, Flower.
No.
We are out of time, but we've got another marvellous show lined up. Can you believe we're already going to be into March?
I can't, no. It's St. David's Day, March the 1st.
St. David's Day, March the 1st.
Yes, patron saint of Wales.
Thank you. I can say I love you in Welsh.
Go on, then.
But
when I was at school, I used to have to wear a leek on my lapel.
Did you? That's, it's a very vegetarian dress code, isn't it?
Just I was ahead of the time.
Yes, you were, Flower.
Yes.
Yes, but now we're behind time because we got to go.
Oh, okay.
We got to go. Make sure you check out this week's podcast with the wonderful Steve Stockton, everybody.
Yes.
And we've got some insights for you all over our socials as well. Check us out on TikTok because it's doing very, very well.
Is that the same as Tickery Talk?
Tickery Talk. It's doing very, very well. Your MCR, everybody, over on Tickery Talk.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. I'll tell you where we're not.
What?
We're not here in 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Right.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of
Your Manchester.